Well, it's a big question, because when you look at the size of governments and state government, there's lots and lots of stuff that happens on the application side. So like most other governments, we have lots of major application development projects that are going on. But I thought one of them that really crosses that boundary line in the innovation space is Minnesota's new Minnesota Geospatial Commons. And it's an environment that we built in the state of Minnesota to take formerly siloed geospatial hosting functions and bring them together under one roof. And this new environment gives citizens of the state of Minnesota and businesses, as well as state agencies, the ability to come to one single location within state government and see over, I believe at this point, over 200 different kinds of geospatial data, all housed in one location, as well as tools to access that data. This year with the state of Minnesota, one of the things that we're really focusing on is kind of back to basics, bread and butter activities. So like I mentioned earlier, there's certainly lots of application efforts that are going on, but our state is moving from a model where we had a lot of decentralized IT to a model that we're moving towards more centralized IT. So we're having a year where we're very much focused on bread and butter infrastructure type of issues. So for example, we're working on a managed hosting initiative, trying to bring all server hosting into one managed environment, consolidated Active Directory, single service desk, consolidated desktop delivery. So they're really a lot of basic blocking and tackling functions. I'm personally pretty excited about those initiatives, though, because what it's doing for me in particular is it's giving me an opportunity to really finally get security right for the government as a whole. And it's a golden opportunity now to bake security into all the government services from the onset. So I don't see very many opportunities in my future to ever get a chance to get security right from the get-go. So we're kind of jumping on the opportunity right now. Well, I think when you look across the state government space, everybody is facing a lot of the same challenges. Today we talked about HR issues that are plaguing government, the ability to attract and retain employees. Minnesota is no different. In fact, we're one market in Minneapolis-St. Paul where we have more Fortune 500 companies than any other city in the nation, which compounds our problem. So we have HR issues. We certainly have a lot of technology issues, just like all other states. And we also have fiscal issues as we're going through the IT consolidation, trying to get a fiscal model in place for our government that makes sense. In my particular case, though, I think one of the big challenges that we're looking at is in the security space, much like you've heard in the conference as one of the top priorities, is how do we get on top of a lot of the security issues that we're facing today, and how do we model security to address the new onslaught of threats we have in the future more holistically. Well, our state is really taking a comprehensive view of how we're going to address security going forward. So this spring, in a joint effort with some of the agency IT leaders that we have and our CIO and members of our executive team, we put together what we call Minnesota's Comprehensive IT Security Consolidation Plan. And that's something that I'll be talking about tomorrow morning at the conference at one of the roundtables. But essentially what we're doing is we're looking at security across all different 78 government organizations that we oversee as part of the state of Minnesota executive branch. And we're carving out security into 12 major lines of service. And we've figured out a new delivery model for those 12 services. So the essence of the plan is we're doing horizontal consolidation where that approach is most appropriate. A good example would be with areas like vulnerability management. Our game plan is to deliver vulnerability management services and continuously assess all of our IT environment with one team across the entire government. And so today we've started that approach. We assess, I think, about 30,000 machines a day with that single service. So along with those horizontal lines of service that we're putting together for security, we're also trying to figure out a way to deliver more of the boots on the ground security services more effectively as well. So moving from our old model where we tried to deliver those services on an agency by agency basis, we're now consolidating those service delivery functions into 6 distinct teams that are going to deliver services on a line of business approach. So we're looking at all of our entities that deliver healthcare related deliver healthcare related functions, and we're going to be delivering the security for all of those agencies collectively with one health security team. So it's a horizontal and a vertical consolidation approach that we think will set the stage for the future for our state. Well, I think one of the most important things is to recognize what's working today. So there already is an approach that links the federal, state, and local governments together, and that approach is implemented through the multi-state ISAC. So Minnesota is a heavy participant in the multi-state ISAC. I sit on the executive team of the MS ISAC. But what that allows us to do is to share resources and share information between the federal government, the state government, and local governments as well. So that's an approach that works very well today. And it's more than just theory of people getting together and talking about things in terms of meetings. Today we get probably between 20 and 30 pieces of actionable intelligence every day that we use to help us assess and find and fix problems in our security environment. Likewise, we pass our information back up through the ISAC channel as well. So one thing that I think is going to be really helpful going forward is the President's new executive order on information sharing. I think that's going to profoundly change the landscape, because today the ISACs actually kind of live in their own silos or their own sectors. But the new model that's being proposed in President Obama's executive order changes it to what are called information sharing and analysis organizations. So the ISAO model, the ISACs will fold into ISAOs, but it also gives opportunities to have, rather than sector-based security groups, more regional groups as well, and some other types of arrangements that all fold into that same information sharing fabric. The other thing that's interesting about the new model is that it also brings all information up to the National Cybersecurity and Communications Integration Center, or commonly referred to as the NCIC. So it makes the NCIC the epicenter for security information and information sharing. So that's a second piece of the executive order that I think is really important. And then finally, it does that with the wrapper that sits around this whole paradigm, which has common policies and standards for sharing. Whereas today, different sector-based organizations have different ways that they communicate the information. So I think the stage is set with the executive order and some of the work that's happened in the past to make information sharing across government work a lot better than it has in the past.